Hello, everyone. Luca Blights here, and I'm with Thoughtful Pug. I attempted to do a reaction to episode 7 of volume 8, but the audio decided it had other plans. Although it was more on my fault because I tested for the audio on their stuff, and then I also tested for the video itself that we were watching, but I did not test them together, and they overlapped each other, and I spent a good chunk of that video trying to fix it on the fly, so I didn't really pay attention to what was going on. I might include some of our discussion in it, but there's actually one joke for sure that I'm going to keep in. It'll probably be at the very end of the video. Otherwise, I'll leave a timestamp for where it's at if you want to hear it. But disclaimer warning: it is somewhat inappropriate. So if you have any kids, don't let them be around when you see it. Anyway, Pug, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Thoughtful Pug. I won't say old friend of Luca's, but I've been around for the last two years, and I've popped up in a couple videos by now, so hopefully you all know me.
Yep. So the way me and Pog are going to break this down is I've organized it into three main parts because we had three main groups that we were focusing on. Part one will be all of the Aesop's, Yang, John, and all of them. Part two will be the Hazel and Oscar bits, and then part three will be the rest of Team Ruby and of course Penny and Klein and all that jazz that happened. And then I'm just going to like recap the episode, and then me and Pog will discuss our thoughts on it. And let us begin. So I want to say I appreciate the visuals of this. Hold up, there we go. The visuals, especially you have this soldier right here who is like breathing heavily. Like I'm not attached to this guy at all, but I'm scared for him. Um, and then the scene reminded me a little bit of if StarCraft 2, Heart of the Swarm intro met Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And then I also appreciate the scenery here. Like the graphics look really, really good. And then you've got the mechs and the soldiers lined up. Why the hell did you do that? So you have the whale grim just shitting out Grim left, right, and center. As you can see here, um, if the thing will let me look at it for a second, you have the sulfur fish running around behind the sabers. I did not notice them.
Silverfish.
Yep. And then we see the apathy yet again. And then, of course, this shot here, all the flying grim, there are Nevermores in there. Um, the pterodactyl looking dudes, there's all kinds of shit. And then you've got this battle line set up, which I gotta say, I think it's hilarious that Ruby understands battle lines better than Game of Thrones season 8. Um, and then this shot right here, I really, really love all of these shots. Like, there's not a whole lot going. I mean, there's a shitload of things going on, but it wasn't too action heavy. It was just the start of it, and then you can see Ironwood here is furious. He is frustrated. He is angry, and this okay.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
slideshow.
understandably so, considering what our heroes have done so far.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So he's
Oh yeah,
evacuating all the citizens to the subway, which some people are theorizing that the Grim are going to get through, which I think is a foregone conclusion. That might be why the apathy are there. You know, if we see like another mountain glen where it's just like a bunch of people sleeping and unable to move because the apathy have just like taken everything out of them. And then you got this schmuck over here with his daughter just having a picnic, like typical Elysians, not giving a shit about the world. Don't realize there's a giant whale grin that just crash landed on their fucking turf, quite literally. I like the timing of the shot 'cause she looks so damn tired right here. Um, and yeah, and then I didn't notice at first. I didn't know what the hell these things were. And I'm like, oh, that's right, they're the Lancers. Because I watched one of Birds' reaction, and I think he pointed out that those are Lancers. And then, yeah, they say they can't get the shield back up, obviously, because the things have been torn down. And Iron says don't waste resources on them. Um, and then Winter informs them or informs Ironwood that they have captured Ren and all them. I still think it's kind of silly for them to be worried about that. They should be working together. And then Yang, of course, says still just following orders. Yes, they're following. They are following orders, but I get Yang's frustration because it's like law and order don't really matter at this point because of this shit right here. You got Grim all over the place. Like you guys need to fucking put your bullshit aside, work together, and then work things out from there. I got that there because I was gonna do a cheap "that's what she says" joke, but I'm just gonna keep chugging along with this.
right.
And then they don't believe that Oscar was taken, and Yang's like, "If you just let us let us go, let us get to him, we would be able to save Oscar and all their other jazz." And then something I picked up on this scene is that Ironwood's like, "Okay, all the ships, stop shooting at the whales, shoot at the secondary targets, you know, the other flying grim and whatnot." And he tells Winter that they're going to deliver a bomb, and then her look right here tells me and it tells the audience that this is a suicide mission. She's probably not coming back from this. And so I think that's an interesting thing because you see her look as shock and then sadness and then understanding. And then like when I think it was Jean was asking her, you can't do that because Oscar's in there, you do see her hand slightly shake, which tells me she doesn't like what's going on. And then Jean kind of comes in with a nice play that appeases both Winter's obligation to orders and her wish to want to help them. And he suggests that they be the test run. They run in, grab Oscar, scout the area out, and then when they come back, if they're on time, tell them, hey, here's what's inside. Be prepared, and maybe even offer help. Like, hey, okay, you let us get Oscar. Let's secure him in the ship, and then we'll go help you set up the bomb and try to get out of there. So I really liked this moment for Jean. It was a really good moment for him. It really drove that he is a smart guy when the writers let him be, because it was a good compromise that didn't go against Winter's orders, and it also gave them an outing. So basically, everybody wins. But I see, like Meryl's like, you want to go in there alone? You can see he is genuinely concerned. He's not like thinking they're stupid. Well, he is thinking they're stupid, but he doesn't want them to die. He doesn't want them to get hurt or anything like that. Yang brings up, wouldn't you do it for Elm, Harriet, and Vine? And of course, we know they don't treat each other like friends. They treat each other like coworkers. Harriet and Meryl have a moment where they like look at each other, kind of uncertain of like what to say to that, because it's like, would they? Would they not? I mean, the job is important. And then Elm kind of chimes. She says it very softly and not like aggressively. Like we don't let feelings get in the way. Um, it's about making the right call. It's about using logic, not emotion, to do things. And then she goes on to say that trading three lives for one is stupid, which that's a matter of perspective, really. That's not really using logic because she's associating the number of lives, but not the importance of said lives. And then Ren chimes in saying, no, it's not. It's not stupid to do that. He's our friend. We will do whatever we can to help him because we care about him. And then I know you're going to have a bit to say. We're almost done with this first set of bits. And then Yang and John look at one another. And then Harriet needs to stop saying this word, A, because she's using it wrong, and B, because it means something very inappropriate that I don't think the writers have considered. Although when you say you peg some, that means you have them figured out. But it's also connotations to some spicy stuff. We'll say that. And then she's like, "Nope, you're
I
just
mean,
as
I don't think
naive."
we have to explain that too much. I feel like the 50 people who are gonna watch this video are gonna know what pegged means.
Yeah. I guess the other screenshots did not make it in, but essentially what happens is Ren stands up, confronts Harriet again, and he sees these petals floating about, and then he realizes that she's angry about losing Clover. She misses him, and then he looks over at Marrow. He has blue petals, meaning he is sad. Elms is orange, which I'm associating with the seven deadly sins, where orange is a combination of red and yellow. Red is anger, yellow is greed, and I think Elm wants what Team Ruby and all of them have, that camaraderie and that get along and that kinship they have together. And then he looks over at Vine, and his is green, which I'm associating again with the seven deadly sins, green with envy. So I think he's envious of what's going on with Ruby, or not Ruby, but Yang, John, Ran, Ruby, all of them. Like he's jealous of that. So you can see that the Aesops are conflicted with the situation. They have also been at war with each other, which Ran attributes that as to part of the reason why the Aesops lost. But there's a myriad of reasons I think the Aesops lost that makes sense for the story, even though the story doesn't really explain. It's just a matter of how you interpret it. Well, then after that, they drop off Yang and them to go into the whale and rescue Oscar. And then Ren tells Winter, like, I know you don't want to do this either. And he also says the same thing to Marrow. Marrow and Winter both seem to be the ones most reluctant to make these kinds of decisions. They are scared. They don't want to hurt Team Ruby, Jean, and all them. They do genuinely care about their well-being, but they're still following orders because they trust Ironwood. They trust in him to make the right decisions. And so that was all that happened with them. Pug, what were your thoughts on the segments with Ironwood, the Aesops, Ren, and all them?
Like I agree with most of what you said there. That the animation looks like so much prettier than it did in the previous episodes. Uh, it feels a lot smoother. Feels a lot uh well textured. I'd say. Uh, and I noticed it. It may have been in the previous episode, but the previous episodes, but I just haven't noticed it if that's the case. But aside from that, yeah. As for the whole Aesop shit, yeah, that's a case where I'm angry at the guys at both sides, but I think that uh, John's plan, yeah, that makes sense for him to like suggest then and now. It makes sense for them to do.
Yeah.
A- and and what and I'm not a big fan of Neef's like line delivery and that like we do it for our friends bit. I yeah, I don't know. I just think that I don't want to diss on Neith too much. Uh, because there's certain like folks that go a bit too fucking far. But yeah, I've just never pegged him for being just a natural actor. But uh, yeah, aside from that, I'm also okay with the expansion of Ren's powers there, Ren's semblance. I thought it was clever. LJ, meanwhile, he hated it violently, like he always does.
Well, I think he was okay with the idea itself. He just didn't like the execution, and I can definitely see because it did kind of feel like an ass pull, but not to the point where I would be too objecting towards it. Like, could the build up have been
Yeah,
better? Yes.
yeah. I don't think I could be on like the Fat Man level where I can be angry at every single thing with Ruby at this point. Because at this point I'm kind of like really just jaded with the series.
Yeah, I just like
Uh,
whatever they throw at me. I'm just like, fine, whatever. I'll roll with
okay,
it.
yeah. Uh, Yeah, it's surprising that there's going to be a later moment that when you get to it, I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause you so I can rant about it because for once it made me like feel a genuine emotion about this show.
I know what
Oh,
part you're
and
talking
that
about.
yeah, and sadly I don't think it like fully picked up on the recording because I had shit to talk on and I forgot to press it when I had that visceral reaction.
Oh yeah, you got cut off quite a bit. Like,
Yeah,
I heard was fucking like, what the hell's going on?
yeah. I'm probably not gonna do push to talk now. I think I've like figured out how to like control the whole breathing problem from like the first video I did, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really got much else to say other than I pretty much liked the entire sequence of events. Yeah, some of the lines were a little cheesy, but I'm like, I get what they're going for. They're like the impact is there, the emotion is there. Everything felt fine. I really, again, I think John had a really good moment here. Um, this might have been the least annoying that Yang's been for me in a while. I don't know. Yang's been bouncing back and forth from. I'm like, okay, you're not too bad this time. To God, Yang, you're kind of annoying right now. Like, I understand that characters go through changes in personality as the story progresses, but I don't know. I just the way Yang does some things, I just don't agree with it, and it's just my opinion. I'm not saying Yang's necessarily a bad character or people are wrong for liking her because that's their opinion. You're free to like or dislike whichever characters you like or dislike. I mean, I used to not give a shit about Hazel until I watched this episode, and then now that Hazel's got more context to his character, I'm like, Hazel's actually not the worst villain anymore. He's actually a complex character with some moral gray
Oh
areas that
yeah.
we can touch
Can't
on.
wait to get to him, but probably should save that for when we do like cover that part
Yep.
as always.
So that's it for the first third of the episode, which again, most of it good. Little to no complaints, just a little bit of the line deliveries was a little meh, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, moving on. We have Salem doing a Crollo from Hunter x Hunter. It took me a minute to think about who the fuck was Crollo. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that scene. I don't think it was necessarily ripping off of it. Dang, are you gonna move? Oh, there we go. So yeah, you got Salem doing her little orchestra, being all in the moment, enjoying herself, and I thought it was a really well shot scene, especially this right here where you see her standing on the ledge and then orchestrating the Grim into destroying things. And then of course you have Emerald over here spying on her, which Emerald has seemed to have doubts about this entire situation. So she sneaks off. Grimseer sees, or she sees the Grimseer, uses her semblance on it, which means she can use it on Grim, but it does make me wonder if Salem is aware that she's roaming about. Then we flash over to her spying on Hazel and Oscar's little conversation. And Oscar says, "You've never wondered why she recruited you specifically to help her find the relics? We share a vision," he says. "She's going to create a new world order, no kingdoms, and no huntsman academies." And he's just like, "Oh God, you're drinking the
Yeah,
Kool Aid, my dude." And so he's like, "No, when Salem gets all four relics, there will be no world left at all. She's been alive longer than you can comprehend. And all that will be after she gets the relics is death." And then this is a blurred image because I capped it at the wrong time, but Hazel refutes him and says Salem can't be killed. She's a force of nature. And then when he said this, I'm like, yes, okay, good. He blamed her before he blamed Osmond. So when she came for me, I killed her over and over again. And then the longest she was gone was only a few hours when I couldn't lift my arms anymore. She showed me that through her, I could still have the vengeance I needed. And then Oscar is just, or Ozpin, excuse me, is just pitying Hazel. It's like, "Oh, Hazel, don't you see? This is why she came for you." And then he's like, "This is what you deserve." And he says, "Yes, I do deserve this because I have made mistakes. But Oscar, the people of Atlas Remnant, like, why are you hurting them? Yeah, you haven't done what you've done for justice. You've done it for yourself because she pushed you to think it would help you. Well, has it? I fucking love this scene." And then it flashes over to after he recounted the entire story to Hazel that we saw in episode 3 of volume 6. But if Salem can divide humanity beyond repair and bring all four relics back together, she believes that maybe her curse will be broken. The gods will rule against us and destroy remnants. So essentially, Salem is on a suicide mission, but she wants a release from her curse. But it also ties into the fact that she is a creature driven purely by destruction. So it fits her character perfectly. And I think pretty much everybody assumed that was what her end goal was, anyways. It was either that or world domination. So Hazel says, "Oh, nice story. But if Gretchen's death taught me one thing, it's that you can't be trusted." Okay. Yeah. Screwed up the screenshots there. And then Oscar says, "Hey, let me jump in here, Ozpin." And then he's like, "But wait, you want him to trust us? Then trust me." And then Ozpin relents. And Oscar says her name is Jin. And Hazel's like, "Wait, come again?" Um, so yeah, it's missing the screenshots yet again. I guess there's a cap to how many I can have, but essentially, Oscar trusts Hazel with the password, and Hazel kind of thinks for a moment. Then Emerald, of course, overheard it, so she knows the password as well. She goes to tell Mercury, so he probably knows the password. And then he tries to convince Mercury that, hey, maybe we should GTFO, because Salem's definitely does not have our best interest in mind. Mercury kind of refused to. He's like, even if what he said was true, we can't do anything to Salem. Hazel tried, he failed. What good would we do? And he's like, besides, I don't think she's going to destroy the world. And Tyrion's like, oh, yeah, she is. And then that freaks Mercury and Emerald out both. And then they have a. I really love the chemistry between Mercury and Emerald because it feels like two people that actually know each other when they have. It's like it feels like two normal people having a conversation. I'll elaborate more on that after Pug gets his thoughts out. So then Tyrion says they're going to Vacuo, or no, Emerald is like, "You're still going to Vacuo," and then Tyrion comes along, says his thing, and then essentially Tyrion and Mercury, I think, are out of the remainder of this volume. But you do see that Mercury does generally still care for Emerald because he doesn't say like I or me. He says we. Like whatever happens, he wants Emerald to be a part of it. Um, but yeah, so Mercury and Emerald do have a look at each other where Mercury is like kind of having some doubts now. I kind of wish they would have waited to put the seeds of doubt in Mercury, but all right, it is what it is. And Emerald watches; she looks very sad to see him leave, and then yeah, that's pretty much the end of all of that. So I don't know how many. I doubt I'm going to have the penny scenes, but yeah, I guess it was just a straight up cap to how many images I can have. So, Bug, your thoughts?
yeah. I'll say that I appreciate that they managed to take Hazel from uh, being the worst of Salem's henchmen in terms of backstory and in character and shit, and made him relatable again, and like made sense of like him again, because oh boy, I won't say that he is like the best of the henchmen, but he's I'm not like annoyed when he's around. Let's say I did appreciate that scene immensely. I think it was like a genuinely like well written scene, which is rather rare.
Yeah, at least when it comes to dialogue, because Ruby's dialogue has been very hit and miss.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I yeah.
good.
Aside from that, though, I couldn't care for. Oh yeah, and Oscar giving him the password to use however he wants. That's sort of a clever tactic right there.
Yeah,
I appreciate that shit. Hope that goes somewhere.
yeah. So it's.
Probably.
I'm gonna interject here real quick because Emerald is based on Aladdin. I think she might be the one that uses the lamp, and Hazel and Oscar will be in the room when she does it.
Yeah, I haven't watched Aladdin in like decades. So okay, what the heck?
All right, sorry about that. We had some background noise that Pug had to deal with, but we are
Yay.
good to go now. Anyways, Pug, you had something you wanted to say about the Emerald and Mercury?
Yeah. Uh. So I enjoyed the scene with Hazel Oscar. That I was good with. Uh. Mercury and Emerald, I still cannot care for, but I appreciate the scene they had. I think it was well. I think it was well written. Uh. But I think that's goes for most of the episodes of this season. Most of it's well written. Most of it.
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing to write home about, in my opinion, though.
I think
It's
bringing
just
Kirsty and Eddie was definitely the smart move because it puts less pressure on Miles and Carrie.
yeah, yeah, to an extent.
That I mean, I'm actually impressed with Miles' writing because he wrote episodes 2 and 5, and both of those were really good episodes. 5 in particular, the penny centric one. I think when Miles writes serious scenes, he's really good, but when he writes comedy scenes, he's actually like very hit and miss. And by very hit and miss, I mean it literally either misses the mark or it hits it well enough to where it's like, okay, that was kind of funny. But I think he's good at writing dramatic scenes.
I always took it backwards that Miles was more suited to be a comedy writer than a serious drama writer. I could tell that from I considered that from stuff like Camp and his like failures to try to be like to do serious writing in like the last like uh most of Ruby up to like the end of volume 5.
Yeah,
Uh, though I haven't paid attention to uh which one wrote which episode, so Miles and Carrie, because to tell which one's their fault or the other. Not I feel like I was too harsh using that word, but yeah.
yeah,
I seriously think they've improved like the last 3 seasons as writers,
yeah,
though.
definitely. I mean, Carrie, I think has been consistently good for the most part. Miles, I think he just needed less pressure on him. And I also we also need to understand that they when Gary or Greg, excuse me, was around, they didn't necessarily have too much control over the production cycle. That was all on Gray. And
Yeah,
since he's been gone, the show's writing has gotten significantly better. The structure has gotten better too.
certainly.
But anyways, yeah, the Hazel bits, my favorite parts of the episode, the conversation between Hazel and Oscar slash Osmond were the best moments of the episode for me because I loved the exchange between them. It was really well written, and I believe Kiersey is the one that wrote this episode with support from I think it was Miles, but yeah, whichever one of them wrote those scenes, that was like
Yeah,
top shit.
yeah. I think Miles had an additional writing
Yeah,
credit on it. So
yeah. Anyways, moving on to Ruby's group. So we start this one with Weiss tending to Nora. Nora's asking, "What am I good for?" Nora's still out of it. Penny's in trouble. Man, we got to save the redheads. And then Blake comments that Salem's monsters making Grim faster than the Atlas military can kill them, which makes sense because we saw like thousands of those bastards like flying out of the Grim. The city won't stand a chance unless we can stop it. It's massive, way bigger than a Leviathan. Penny launched Amity, and our message went out. So they're waiting. They're hoping that someone comes, or rather, do we wait for somebody to come, or
oh,
what happens? And then Ruby says, "How did it get like this?"
okay, all right. may
Y-
I? Can we
yes,
pause here so I can rant? This
yes.
was the moment that made me yell in rage. Like this, this proved me that they did not realize just how stupid Ruby has been. Like the last two seasons, it is incredible. Like she is probably the most responsible for this whole situation being so fucked right now. She kept the secret of Jin from Ironwood when she should have been more open about it. She is the one that went behind Ironwood's back and informed everyone of the whole thing, just endangering everyone in the process. Took took away the winter maiden from Ironwood with Penny, and refuses to work with him, like on any of this. Yeah, I get you want to save Mantle, but like you want to save Mantle too, but that's not. It's more practical to do Ironwood's plan at this rate than try to save every single soul in Atlas. Because going by Ruby's plan, it's putting the entirety of the kingdom at risk to being destroyed. And right here, right now, that's all coming to fruition, it seems. And yet she doesn't realize that this is her fault. That angers me. That angers me to a different level. I think that's like the biggest issue with like main Ruby cast. Why like sometimes a lot of people like struggle to relate to them. It's because they come off as like these entitled, spoiled rats. Like they casually fight and kill. They casually like fight and kill the White Fang on the train like it meant nothing. Like these weren't.
They weren't people that had real issues that they were pissed off and fed up with to the point that they decided to join a
Yeah,
revolutionary terrorist group.
yeah. The White Fang is more relatable than our main heroes. Any of them. Fuck.
I mean, I think Weiss is still the one that they've handled the best of the four. And I think Blake's slowly, gradually, like getting better, but it's only because Ruby and Yang are getting worse.
Yeah. Coming off of a show like Symphogear, I'm sorry that I'm promoting this now, but Symphogear has its problems with characters from time to time. But overall, I'd say their characters are more engaging. They're more relatable because their lives are a lot more fucked in that show than these girls are. They've actually gone through hell. Like Blake, do we know uh the she goes on about being manipulated by like Adam and shit, but we never really see any of the alleged abuse towards her. Meanwhile, you get characters in Symphogear like freaking Yukine Chris, who's like a fucking who's been a child sex slave for the last like 8 years of her fucking life. After watching her fucking family get killed by terrorists, that only to be rescued by the UN and then kidnapped again and and abused and all that shit over again.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you have like you got freaking Hibiki Tachibana, like a girl who survives like being impaled in the chest by the freaking armor of one of the person that saved her life, who proceeded to get like violently bullied and harassed for the next 2 years of her life because she survived this deadly disaster. And yet she still is like a very positive and forgiving person. There's more character there than there is to fucking Ruby Rose. The last 3 seasons they've tried to give Ruby Rose character, they failed spectacularly. All that they've done is make me hate her. I am amazed. I used to absolutely love Ruby Rose, like even though I didn't really have a reason behind cute character design, all that kind of shit. now that they give you a solid character, I fucking hate her. I cannot empathize with her. I hate this. This is just terrible.
Yeah,
Uh,
I did have a discussion with some people on one of the Facebook pages of like basically that I think I read that tension off when we did our reaction that I had with Yang and Ruby and how like Ruby's making these horrible decisions and she's not really thinking about the consequences of them and then like her line to Penny where Penny's like, Ironwood said, because of me, people are going to die. And Ruby says that's a lie. It's like, no, Ruby, it's not a lie. It is truth. But what you should say to comfort her is say that no matter what happens, people are going to die, but we will save who we can, as many people as we can save. We need to accept the reality that people are going to die, but we will save as many as we can. And I'm going to give credit to Flaming Shark for that because he's the one that said it in his reaction. Because even he, who's been very forgiving to the show, in fact, I think he loves the show. It's not like his top favorite of all time, but he really does like the show. But even he was like, Ruby, what the fuck? Like you just straight up lied to her. Like, no, don't. And I think it was Fat Man and Celtic. I forget which one or if it was both of them, but this season has had a lot of gaslighting on Penny, like from the Aesops and from Ruby. And it was actually starting to kind of piss me off. I'm like, why are these people fucking with Penny so hard? Like, that's so fucked up. But,
yeah,
but yeah, like,
I feel I do need to clarify my statement there. I'm not pissed off that she'd do something this stupid. I can understand that if it was all this is all like supposed to be an arc for her to learn. Oh shit! I can't save everyone. I can't be like this like super perfect do-gooder who can save everyone in this situation. Like it's not treated as like she is going to like learn from this whole like tragedy that she's fucked up spectacularly, and this is going to be a weight on her fucking shoulders. But no, but at this rate, with a line like that, I cannot believe that's what they're going to do at this point. Like there's no like every single like breadcrumb I have at this point leads me to think that's not going to be the case here.
no, I don't think so either. At least not for this volume. Yeah, because like I said, I was having this conversation with some people on the Facebook page. They're like, "Ruby's young; she's still a child," and da, da. I'm like, "Okay, if this was like volume 3 or 4, even 5, I would give you that." But she's been through some shit. Like they have all been through some shit. They should be much more mature now and understand the ramifications of their decisions because this isn't just about them anymore. Their decisions are affecting the lives of potentially millions of fucking people. And that's why I do think Ironwood, at least in the short term, had a good idea in saying, "Look, we got to get the relics and the Winter Maiden out of Salem's Reach, otherwise Remnant is fucked." And if what Osmond said is true about her motivations, then yes. If she gets to the relic of creation or whatever, then she's halfway to her achieving her goal, and that would pretty much leave Vacuo as the last bastion of hope. So I do think the writers are to some extent making Ironwood to be the villain when he's not. He's just a very morally gray character right now because he is making some pretty shitty decisions. Like I don't think he should have shot Sleet. I think he should have stripped them of their council seats because when martial law is declared, that means the military calls all the shots. The legislative government has no say in what goes on. So Ironwood could effectively go full blown dictator and say, I'm stripping the two of you of your seats on the council and I'm locking you up until we get this shit resolved. So that way it's not just, oh, Ironwood shot Sleet. What a dickhead. Like, even though you weren't made to care about Sleet, that's still just a guy that was, objecting to Ironwood's decisions and he gets shot for it. And it's not like it was a soldier disobeying orders, it was a civilian. And so I wish they would keep Ironwood in a very moral gray area and make Ruby reflect on her decision, saying like I think I fucked up. Like I maybe Salem played us, and we're now making all these bad decisions that are just ruining things. So she's saying she would be pointing out the reality of the situation in that I've made some bad decisions. That's why we're in this mess. Now I got to do my best to get us out of it and save as many people as we possibly can. And get the word out to Remnant that hey, Salem is out there. Relics are what she's after, and if she gets all 4 of them, the world is fucked. But they don't do that. They don't humanize Ruby. They don't I mean, hell, I'd say they humanize Yang more than Ruby. Like Ruby's the least humanized of the main 4, in my opinion. And I don't
Yeah.
necessarily hate her character. I just hate the writing behind her character. Like I don't like what they're doing with it. So I'm mostly agreeing with what you said earlier in your rant, and I at the very least I understand everything you said. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. I can see why you would come to those conclusions. It's not like you're hating on the show for the sake of hating on it, because like I said, I've talked to other people who agree with me that yeah, this line right here was fucking dumb. Like that was whoever put this line in here, bad decision. That really makes Ruby kind of come off as an insensitive dumbass. Like,
Yeah.
read the room, Ruby. You know why the situation is where it is because Salem was playing all of you against each other. Like, she is good at that shit. And Ironwood was already kind of starting to slip off the deep end. And people said it came too sudden, but no, I think there were hints of it in Volume 4 where he was locking the country up, cutting off the dust so that the other countries don't declare war. Like they already have the seats that he is hard. It is hard to gain his trust. Damn near impossible to win it back once you lose it. So that's why I consider Ironwood to be one of, if not the best written character of the show, even in spite of them trying to vilify him.
Right. Oh, and one more thing to point out before we like move on to like the other stuff.
Yeah,
I cannot find a tweet, but I remember someone pointing out how uh there's a bit of a juxtaposition here where the Aesops alongside Yang and John and Ren, they're shown on the front fucking lines about to like sacrifice themselves. Meanwhile, Ruby and friends are currently just sitting in Weiss's mansion drinking tea,
yeah,
just
yeah.
watching.
I know what you're talking
It's
about.
like in context, they're taking care of Nora, but it just feels kind of wrong to you to watch. It's just it's just jarring just to see, and also makes you like empathize more with the Aesops
Yeah,
than with like Team Ruby right now.
like what this episode did is it made me like all four of the Aesop's a lot more. It humanized Harriet. Meryl, I was already fine with, and then Elm and Vine have definitely been more humanized to an extent. But I want more of that going forward. Like, all right, you've given me something, give me more of it. Keep going. You're on the right track. And the same thing with Hazel and with Oscar and Ozpin. Like I'm really liking their shit. And yeah, you're right. I will give Yang her dues, despite that I was kind of taking a couple of jabs at her character. Like she's still willing to like lay down her life for the better for the people she cares for. In this case, Oscar, and also for John and Ren. And Ren's been MVP in my book for as far as the protagonists go. He's been my favorite of this volume because all that shit he said in
Yeah,
volume 4, episode 4,
episode 4. Yeah,
perfect. And then here, even though, yeah, the execution with his semblance evolving wasn't necessarily what I would have done. I wish it would have been foreshadowed. Like maybe when him and Yang were having a conversation, he kind of just like sees flickers of it. Like drop a little hint there, sprinkle a little like, what the fuck's going on with his semblance? Or like when he looks back at John, he sees that John goes from um like the line that he says about him cheating his way into Beacon, like you can see like Jean go from like scared to angry to sad and then to like frustrated and then just say, let's just keep moving. And then when Yang says, is it your goal to push her away? Then you see like flickers of red on her and maybe a little bit of blue because she's sad that she's fighting with Ren. Like just sprinkle in the little finer details before you just completely what's the phrase? Go all in on something, but that's neither here nor there. So again, it's within the realm of possibilities of a semblance. I can see it. I'm not saying it's bullshit, but the execution could have been handled a lot better. But anyways, that's all I got for that. Moving on. So yeah, we have May come in here, and she's like, "Your friends have been hurting a while. Unfortunately, the last thing they're worried about is a couple of kids." So I do like that she says, "Unfortunately, they're not worried about kids," because she's like, "I'm sorry, but we got bigger problems. We got an entire city that we're trying to help save." So um, she's like, we need to get back down to Mantle because it's in chaos. And she correctly points out that Atlas has its army, yes, but Mantle only has us. And it's possible the Grimm are running around in Mantle right now. That is entirely possible. It's just Salem's got her main horde up at Atlas, but because of all the panic now from Atlas being penetrated and all that other shit, the panic's probably going on down there in Mantle. And then White says people are dying here too. Um, Like you're putting too much on your
Yeah.
plate. You're putting too much
Oh
on
yeah.
your
Oh
plate,
yeah.
Weiss.
That's a very dumb. That's a very like questionable statement of Weiss's that I had a problem with it then, but it just didn't like fully click with me until now. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's trying to point this out to like someone from Mantle that this rich like former heiress is like trying to like defend the people of Atlas to someone who's been fucked over by the people of Atlas for like probably years now.
yeah.
It's like yeah yeah, why don't you think about them? And then it's like what? And it's like the whole point of you going along with Ruya's plan right here and like sticking by her when she betrayed fucking Ironwood is because presumably you guys wanted to save both Mantle and Atlas. So why the fuck are you making this argument right here, right now, Weiss? Like, why? Why?
I mean, that's. I think that's a point that I'll give Yang credit for, is because she didn't fully agree with hiding the truth of Ironwood. So people were pointing out that she was being hypocritical about that, like being kind of like Oz. I'm like, no, not really. Like, yeah, she did that whole thing with Robin, and that did backfire. But when it was called out, she owned up to it. So I'll give Yanks a pass there. People saying that Yanks being hypocritical, no, she's not.
I mean, in that case, she didn't keep a secret. She let a secret out
Yeah, but
more or less.
I appreciated her intentions. Like she wanted Robin to stop doing what she was doing because Robin was acting on misguided thoughts because she thought Ironwood is against them when he's not. So she did what she could, and honestly, Ironwood seemed to be okay with it until Cinder had dropped the Queen piece, and then Salem showed up. Like he seemed to
Yeah,
be able
yeah.
to make
When
he
what?
made peace with it.
Yeah, when all of his like, yeah, he was fine with it when he was like, oh, I guess we could like solve this immediate situation and everything's gonna be fine. Then he finds and so Cinder, then he finds a Cinder chess piece and realizes, oh shit, it's gonna happen.
It's
We're
the
fucked.
it's the fall of Beacon all over again. Damn it. Yeah, I mean, again, the writing with Ironwood is so damn good. All right, so
Yeah,
this bit with May, um, Mantle needed me, and to the Marigolds, that meant I wasn't their son anymore, and I made sure that everyone knew I wasn't their daughter anymore. I liked all of that. I really liked it, but I do think the main impact, not the main impact, but I think the empowerment behind it was kind of little bit leaked out when the VA, when Volume 7 was still airing, came out and said that their character was trans. And people were making the argument that, well, I mean, it's voiced by a trans character, so obviously, if I'm like, yeah, but I mean, you have straight guys playing gay dudes, you have straight girls playing lesbians, you have like a couple examples to come to mind is Anna Paquin. She played Suki in True Blood. Suki is a heterosexual female, but Anna Paquin is bisexual. Um, there was another example I thought of, but
yeah, yeah. Isn't like freaking uh Aaron like isn't she straight? Because
I
I've only
I don't know. I don't know if I don't
uh
know. I know that she ships the Yang and Blake thing. She's a big Bumblebee fan, but I don't know if she's. I don't know. I don't think
because
so.
as far as I'm aware, she's only dated guys. But
Maybe.
but but I think that's a weird like tangent that I don't feel like going down. But
Yeah.
I will say that I kind of respect May's character.
Yeah.
This episode,
Yeah. Go ahead.
like when I first heard that she's trans, it's like okay, so we're adding a token character who's not gonna be important. But no, it turns out oh shit, she actually has a presence as a fucking character.
She
She's gonna
does.
call all out their shit. I love this.
I know.
Uh, but wait, is she? I forget her gender now. Fuck.
Who? May?
Yeah, yeah, it's
She's just female.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's just
female
female.
now. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes I get confused with that.
No, that's cool. But yeah, no, and Cal made a video. Calcian, she made a video with it was her and Hunter, and they were talking about how they appreciate May's character. I don't know what they identify as. I'm not going to assume, obviously. Um, but they made a really good video. I might leave a link to it down below so you guys and gals can check it out. But like May is not defined by her being a transgender. It's just it enhances her character really. It's not defining her identity. Her identity is helping people who need help, and I really like that because that's actually what has put her. Her and Joanna both, I think, are my two favorite of the Happy Huntress is. I still think Robin's a fucking annoying preachy harpy that I just do not give a fuck about. Um, I'm kind of liking her in this volume, but then again, I don't think we've even had 10 minutes of screen time with her, so that might be it. It was like with for those of you that follow wrestling, John Cena got fucking annoying because he was just basically Superman of wrestling, no matter what. It was
Yeah.
like LOL Cena wins, and then when he went away, it's like, man, I kind of miss the guy. Like he's got a good presence on camera. Like he's a fun character on occasion, but for the most part, it's just got tiring watching him win all the time. But yeah, like Fiona, I just need more of her. But yeah, I do like that May has like some serious depth to her character. Like she's a supporting character. She's not even a main character, but we're getting a lot of depth with her, and I really like it. And I really like May's point here. Because she is a lot like Ironwood, grounded in reality. She understands the gravity of the situation. Um, so it's like, yeah, so forget them because the marigolds are assholes and the Shnees for the most part are assholes. Well, May kind of puts her foot in her mouth because of some events that happen later, but we'll get into that in a bit. Yeah, like I said, yeah, foreshadowing right here.
Yeah.
So she points out, like, which side are you on anyway? Are you on the side of Atlas or are you on the side of Mantle, even though both are part of the same kingdom? And then Blake says, we've heard that before. And Ruby says, there are no sides. We want to help everyone. So again, that was part of my
Well,
tangent
there
with Ruby,
is.
but I think the context we're all facing Salem together. But then again, she painted Ironwood in a negative light towards the world. Like she said, Ironwood can't be trusted. I'm like, it's not that he can't be trusted. It's just you betrayed the trust he had in you, and Salem's played you all for fucking fools. So you're kind of passing the blame onto him and not taking accountability for your own actions. But we already went on a fucking spiel about that. And together's the only way. Okay, moving on. So how exactly do we get out of it? May asks. And then we see Whitley over here eavesdropping on the conversation, which leads into him being like, "Okay, maybe my sister does need my help. Um, well, maybe if we get them out of wherever," and this is referring to Robin and Crow, and May's like, "No, you don't get it. You just don't get it. This is not a situation where everyone wins. Thank you. Um,
Yes, I agree here.
Now you can all come with me and to help in Mantle. You know, come with me, help Mantle, or I can drop you off near the front lines so you can help Atlas." So she's saying, like, look, make a choice: either help Atlas or help Mantle. Whatever you decide, I'll get you to where you need to go. But otherwise, Mantle needs me down there. Um, yeah, your uncle and Robin can't save us. And then they're kind of like, shit, what do we do? And then they look at each other, and then of course, knocking, sinister music, and then I have no fucking idea why, but my first thought was Roman Torchwick. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
why.
because the
The
hat.
hat.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck's Roman doing here? And then I thought, oh, maybe it's Neo, but yeah, I was thinking Neo because I was thinking like maybe Cinder went with the Hound and then Neo was sent to the Schnee Manor because maybe that's where Penny was. But no, it's Klein. The badass himself returns. And he's happy to see Miss Schnee. So I guess when he got fired back in between volumes 4 and 5, I guess he went and became a doctor, which that makes sense. He probably knew like some kind of medical stuff when serving the Schnees and whatnot.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that seems like a skill set that
yeah,
one would have for that.
and then I love this genuine apology that she gives client because she feels like she's responsible for what happened to him. Hint, hint, Ruby. Hint, hint. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. It had nothing to do with you and everything to do with Jacques. Because clearly he doesn't fucking like Jacques, and nobody does. Jacques' an asshole. Um, and then she's like, well, wait, how did you come here? It's like, oh, young Master Witchley. Oh, Master Wayne, welcome back. He's like, let me see the patient. Whitley tells him, and then he's gonna say, well, her womb. Jesus Christ, her room is over. Oh my god.
Er, uh,
Oh, god. Um,
I've been reading a couple fics a while back. Let's just say, it's a lot worse in my mind now.
I haven't been gone that long, Master Whitley. I know where the womb is. I mean, I'm not going to see a mother. I'm going to see the patient.
God, it's just worse.
All right. I'm gonna have to. I have to keep that in. Shit. All right.
Yeah, yeah, you
Anyways.
have to. You have to.
All right. Moving on to the second set here. So yeah, Whitley goes off to see Nora, and my thing is not properly set up. So Weiss is like, "You called Klein," she's all surprised or whatnot. And he says, "That girl needs a doctor. I didn't do it for you." Okay, Sundere. And Weiss is like, "I know. That's why it means so much to me. Because he didn't do it for Weiss. He did it because he cares about Nora, or he's just a caring person in general. And you can see the facade of him being like Jacques kind of fall apart because Jacques' not there to like tyrant over him, and Whitley can finally like become his own person. And this was a wholesome moment. I was actually getting a little misty eyed in the reaction. Um, but yeah, I was just like,
Yeah,
I'm glad that this was a good moment. And then of course they hear an explosion, and it's like, did you call anyone else? Yeah, I called the Ginyu Force. I figured they could help us out. So they all go to the crater, and of course we see Penny. And then, of course, there's a joke at the end of this video that I will include, but it will be at the very end
oh yeah.
because Jesus, yeah. And
Thank
then
you, LJ.
you have no idea how off guard that shit got me by. Like I was just like, oh my god, like I pulled me out of the entire episode, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot Penny like showed up. So Penny landed in Atlas, and I kind of found that to be convenient, but I'm gonna hold off on judgment until we get back into the volume when episode 8 airs in February, the first week of February, I believe. So
Yeah,
I'll hold off until
this.
then, but yeah. Anyways, your thoughts?
Yeah, that last bit with Penny like extremely confused me. Like, just how she should have hit the ground and like way earlier, just by normal velocity. I I assume this is like well after that whole after she's done. Fuck. How do I explain it? It's how long's it been? Like two two episodes since that happened. I assume a significant amount of time, longer than an hour, has passed between those moments. So that could have been just from her falling from space, or however
Well,
far up she was in the atmosphere.
as far as
So my assumption has to be at the moment that she landed, rebooted, flew back up, but was in such a poor state that she couldn't nail the landing, and hence how we got here.
yeah,
But
and I mean,
I assume it's going to be elaborated in when breaks over.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. That's why I'm holding off judgment for now. But the time span of the entire volume is going to be 2 days, and I believe we're on night 2 of day 2 because this episode started off, it was daytime, and then it became nighttime. So I'm guessing the remaining parts of the
Okay.
volume, it's all going to be at night. Um, so yeah, I'm kind of, in terms of the timeline, I guess it could fit because for all we know, well, we all know how Ruby is with timelines. Like they keep things ambiguous to quote avoid plot holes, but that's actually how you create plot holes. Um, but yeah, I'm thinking it's just oh, what the fuck was I gonna say? I think each of these scenes we're getting, they're not happening in chronicle order. Like they're happening in different times of the day. It's just we're keeping track of who we're spending time with because I believe it was season 6 of The Walking Dead. The first half of season 6 was one whole day, or one day, one night. So they can pull it off with a volume, having it just be the time span of 2 days. But I'm actually surprised that they're already on night 2 of day 2. So I don't know. So and according to Eddie, this has been the tame half of the volume. So everything after shit's going to get even more crazy. I am anticipating many a main character of dying, barring the main four and Oscar/Osman. Those 5 I think are safe. John's probably safe too. The rest though, you got your guess is as good as mine. Um, but yeah, with the way the pacing's been, I don't know if we're gonna get 12 volumes. I'm leaning more towards 10, especially with just how this volume is paced. And it's like way too late to introduce new villains unless they do it this volume or like early next volume. Because otherwise, we're not going to have time to get to know these characters like how we have with Tyrion, Watts, and of course, more recently, Hazel. And even though I was disappointed by it, Cinder. But I'm holding out hope that there is a part 2 to her backstory, so that way it it junctures everything together. So that way there is meaning to Cinder's back, the first half of Cinder's backstory. Like consider that the prologue to where she finds Salem and becomes her not conduit, vessel for all the maiden powers and whatnot. So, but yeah, I mean, it has been confirmed now that Salem's end goal is to just end her curse, to end her life, and pretty much end all of existence. The only way she knows how is to summon the gods and divide humanity, so that way they destroy all of Remnant. But other than that, that's about all I've got to say. I love the May stuff. Ruby Weiss
Oh,
and
oh,
Blake did.
oh, oh, yeah. Don't don't forget that I didn't talk about like the Klein and Whitley stuff there real quick because
Yeah, sure.
before we just say off. I I appreciate Klein coming back. I will say that I don't remember really like finishing Volume 4 really, so I can't really say that he's left much of an impression on me. But from what I've gathered, I appreciate his presence. I think it's a good callback, and and I I appreciate the little bit of character development for Whitley. Him being a better brother than Weiss has been a sister right now.
Yeah.
The fucking go to your room fucking line.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like I wish you would have just like brushed past Whitley, instead of like trying to intimidate him, just brush like I don't got time for your shit right now. That would have been better to me
Like
instead of pointing a sword at
he
him.
was offering he was genuinely offering his help. You're like, fuck off.
Yeah, I'm like,
Like
what? Really? Why did you have to say it like that? I mean, at the moment I thought it was
like
a kind of a funny line, but then I thought about it, I'm like, okay, actually, why that was kind of a bitch
yeah,
move.
to give you my one joke for this entire discussion, Weiss loses another battle.
Yeah, yeah,
Victor Whitley.
yeah. But yeah, that's about it from me. I've got to splice these two halves together while also editing out the like last. I don't even think it was a minute, where you had some people barge in and do things. But yeah, if you've stuck around till this point, thanks for listening to us talk about the episode. Hopefully, my reaction to episode 8 will go a lot smoother that way because I will not be using XSplit because I'm fucking done with XSplit and its shenanigans. But anywho, I have been Luke Blight, and this has been Thoughtful Pug. Thoughtful Pug, any closing remarks you want to make?
eh, no, not particularly.
Hmm.
Uh,
But yeah, like this episode, it's probably my favorite. It might be tied with 5 for my favorite so far, but for the first half at least. But I am excited for the second half of Volume 8, especially since supposedly it's going to be nothing but chaos. But anyways, I've looked up light. This has been Thoughtful Pug, and we'll see you all next year for Ruby Volume 8, the second half.